Welcome everybody, I'm LittleFX, and this is the first hour, where I take you through my first hour in a game and break down my first impressions at the end. Now without further ado, this is Metroid Prime Remastered. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I'm actually playing this. Okay. It sounds great in the headphones, by the way. Extras. Alright. What are the extras? Oh! What?! Oh! I wonder if this is essentially the Metroid Prime trilogy version of Metroid Prime, but they remastered it for Switch. That is the world's tankiest frigate. Just gets hit by an asteroid, the asteroid shatters. Let me shoot the rock. Ooh. They really amped up the ambient sounds of like you walking and stuff. It really adds to the kind of solitude. Oh, there they just went. Okay, so one thing I am not a fan of. They've changed the symbol on everything. Whenever you're scanning something in the original game, it used to give you a unique symbol per type of thing. So like, lore would be one thing, a creature would be another thing, an object would be another thing, a piece of the environment would be another thing, and just a random piece of information would be another thing. Now everything has this rounded square, and I don't like that nearly as much, because it doesn't give you an inclination on what it is that you're scanning. Oh gosh. Severing of the spinal cord. You don't say. Fluid sac containing acid are detected. It's like, out the gate, Metroid Prime gives you the opportunity to scan stuff and read about a whole bunch of things. But like, it foreshadows the boss you're gonna have to fight. It tells you that like, oh, it's really strong, and by the way, it can spit acid. It lets you read into, oh, Phazon batches are aboard. What the heck is that? Like, there's so much stuff. It also shows, like, all of the enemies that, if you're a fan of Metroid, you're familiar with. All the freaking... Oh, and acid burns. There you go. Reaffirming the fact that it can spit acid. Hey, be cool. Don't... Come on, man. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to make me do that, either. The blood effects are so bad. It actually looks like Halo Combat Evolved. And then they draw attention to the fact that, like, yeah, you can just go forward. You can. But they draw attention to this intentionally because you have the power. And lo and behold, you just learned what a map station is. I still 100% hold that Metroid Prime set a standard that has almost never been lived up to by most 3D games for an awesome freaking map system. Shows you where you've been, shows you where you haven't been, shows you what kind of door leads in and out, so you know exactly what kind of weapon you need to open it. It shows you where you are. It gives you a full 3D movable like space. Oh my gosh. Ground zero area secure, crater radiation readings normal. Like, you're literally reading about stuff that builds up to the final area of the game. Morphology unknown, low life signs detected, creature appears to be in hibernation. But yeah, those blood effects are old, dude. Those blood effects are very old. But yeah, also, yeah, there's one. Oh look, there's the two that became volatile. One of them broke out and died over there. And we get to see more about it. Like, this entire area is building up the boss fight. Something's Angie. We're gonna not stand there for too long. Just the fact that, like, you get removal of the internal organs. Oh man. But no, it gives you the ability to read into it. Like, if you're really interested, like, how did this one die? And it gives you hints as to what's going on. What caused all these lacerations? The disemboweled guy just got eaten by frickin' parasites, but I mean, a lot of it, especially the acid one, well, you're about to see. So hey guys, if you played Smash 4 and Smash Ultimate and didn't know what this stage was from, now you know. The auto-targeting to acquire this new target. And so now because you have because you have this information, because you've scanned it, it actually changes how the lock-on works. The lock-on will now lock on to what it knows to be the weak spot. Whereas before it was just targeting center mass. Because, I mean, what are you supposed to do? And then we make one minor error. It might have just fallen into the reactor core.
Evacuate immediately.
Whoa. Be real with you, I don't remember that. I wanted to try and scan him first. Dang it. Oh well. And all our stuff just got broken. Barrier suit malfunction, morph ball malfunction, missile malfunction, charge beam malfunction. Apparently everything was in our spine. Can we talk about the implication that Meta Ridley flying with his new body is faster than our gunship? A lot of games from like the mid-2000s and early 2010s, even some games now, did this visual effect where the water would get on to the visor. Like, the water would go and, like, hit the screen. It was supposed to be immersive, and it never was, because it's just like, what's it hitting? Like, if it hits your eyes, it's not gonna look like that. Samus is in a helmet. Samus has a suit on, and it's first person. This is exactly what would be happening. Like, this is freaking great. It's such a wonderful little detail, because here it's actually justified. Elsewhere, not as much. But remember how I went and said that we read about a crater, and that's literally the last part of the game? Here's the crater. This is the end game. You literally come back right through here at the very end of the game. But you get to see it now. So it sticks in your mind, and it generates intrigue. Bonk. It's one very minor thing. Cannot be opened with that weapon, and it's the first time we get to see this. And it's the most basic one, because it's the one that gets opened with a missile. So it's like, you kind of are meant to come here first, because you're meant to go and find this to be introduced to the concept of doors that can't be opened with your normal beam, and it's gonna be openable with the first thing with the only other thing you've ever experienced up to this point, which is a missile. So it's not spoiling what you're going to get in the future. This thing's gonna hurt me in a second. Blood flower, spews toxic spores. Are poisonous even to the blood flower itself. Yes. So the point is, you can shoot that, and it kills it. Don't ask me how I was able to reaction that on a freaking stick-controlled Pro Control. I'm impressed with myself, I'll be honest.
Data received.
Data received. Abnormal seismic activity detected. Seismic detected at... seismic determined. I can't talk. I'm not even reading a script. I just actually can't talk. Seismic disturbance at ruin site. Also, see, this is what I'm talking about. So these breaks in the wall that look like they're full of water, this is Chozo lore. Like, this is background lore information. But you wouldn't know that by looking at the icon. So I don't know why in the world. That's a really dumb change.
Recorded to logbook.
War Wasp Hive. Ow, what the? Normally they have to make a sound. Well, normally they make that cry before they attack. So again, another little foreshadowing thing that this game loves to do. They start showing all of these hives. In the other room, they show all the hives, don't spawn anything. In here, they show more of these hives, spawn a couple things. And lo and behold, we found what we're looking for, the hive totem. And now, Hive has been given context. This game makes me very happy, and I feel weirdly bad about that, because I feel like I'm so taken back by nostalgia and love from what I'm playing that I'm not saying much that's interesting. Either way though, I'll try to do my best. Metroid Prime Remastered has a lot of strengths and only a few notable weaknesses. In terms of the bad stuff I noticed out the gate, despite being a remaster, some of the effects still remain in a state that looks like they're 20 plus years old. Specifically the blood effects of the space pirates splattering on the floor when they die. Dead serious, it looks exactly like Halo Combat Evolved blood splatter, but green instead of purple. If you have the MCC, or either Combat Evolved or Combat Evolved Remastered, just shoot a dead elite on the floor for a bit in the classic graphics and you'll see exactly what I mean. Also, while I completely recognize this as being my fault, the fact remains that I'm both a decent gamer and someone that's played this game before, and the puzzle rooms can still sometimes bring the pacing to a standstill if I forgot what to do. Metroid Prime is a game that thrives on you being rewarded for your progression and always having somewhere to roam to, but rooms like this just stop all of that if you don't figure out the puzzle quickly. One last negative is something that I'm admittedly aware of because of how many times I've played the Prime series, but it is something I feel that it's necessary to bring up. The game doesn't have the difficulty to back up its tone until you've played it on higher difficulties. Metroid is a franchise that has always pushed for a very lonely, tense atmosphere where everything is out to get you. It has a similar feel to a lot of horror games in that respect, but more often than not, when you get hurt, the tension is lost provided that you're actually paying attention. As a person and a player, I generally tend to take things very seriously and really immerse myself in whatever I'm playing, and admittedly, I also have a problem with tunnel visioning when I'm playing sometimes. So on my first playthroughs, I felt like it was super tense, exciting, and dangerous because mostly I wasn't paying attention to my health. Now, having played multiple times, I'm better off on the whole tunnel vision thing and I can focus on everything going on around me instead of just what I'm fighting, and I mean, look how much damage I took from a hit from the War Wasp Hive boss. On higher difficulties, this isn't a problem at all, but sometimes I struggle to immerse myself in what the world was designed to make me feel when I realize that most of the time I'm not actually in that much danger. On to the good, the game constantly foreshadows and warns the player about both important events in the world and things that are going to become immediately relevant, and it never does so in a way that's explicitly expository. It never just tells you, oh, by the way, there's a boss coming up, so just be ready for that. It allows tension to build in a unique way that you essentially build yourself by exploring and scanning areas as you go. You put the pieces together yourself in the order that you find them in. For example, the Parasite Queen. Finding the first one dead in the main room gives you the ability to learn all about the creature before you ever have to fight it, including the fact that it has some sort of acid projectile attack. The following rooms have data expressing that of the Parasite Queen specimens, one is dead, one is still in stasis, and two became unstable. There is still one in stasis, there is one dead in its pod, and two destroyed pods. This leaves you to ask, well, one of the two was dead a few rooms ago, where's the last one? All the while, you've been finding a huge number of space pirates that have just gotten absolutely mutilated in ways that you can even read about, describing the carnage that this thing has left in its wake. Then, you fight it in the reactor core at the climax of the tutorial area. Honestly, this game's use of foreshadowing is insane, as, without spoiling anything, you actually already have been given information about both the actual main source of conflict in the game, as well as implications about the whereabouts and nature of the final boss very shortly after finishing your time on Frigate Orpheon, long before you ever explicitly discover anything. And this game does this constantly. It builds up the War Wasp before the Hive fight, it gives you all the information you need to piece together what kind of enemy the boss of the Chozo Ruins is going to be, and on and on and on it goes. I don't even feel the need to explain how masterfully Metroid Prime executes on Metroidvania design philosophy. It's just a straight-up actual Metroid game. But just as a refresher for the uninitiated or the people that forgot, Metroidvania is a subgenre of gaming pioneered by Metroid and Castlevania that's defined by exploration-driven backtracking in accordance with the progression of the player. You adventure, find something interesting that you can't explore yet or get to yet, adventure some more, and then obtain the tools needed to explore the things that you discovered earlier. Metroid Prime is constantly showering you in things that are just out of reach or areas that you know how to get into, but don't have the tools to actually explore yet. This means that once you find the one path that actually allows you to progress, usually to a boss fight, you then earn the ability that lets you go back and get all of the stuff you wanted or explore all of those places you found. It's a design philosophy that causes the world to expand and grow as you do, and ensures that you're constantly being rewarded either directly or indirectly for almost everything that you do. Even if you don't have what you need, you still found something interesting that piques your curiosity. Then when you find what you do need, all the stuff that you found actualizes in a way that validates all your adventuring up until that point. I don't have a lot anecdotally to say. Metroidvania is just genius, and Metroid Prime does it incredibly well. But, with all that being said, if you were to ask me after the first hour if Metroid Prime Remastered is actually good, I'd say